everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Tonight's going to be a really awesome show, but before we get into that, I actually have a couple of things I want to cover. And one of them is a very special birthday he's a frequent listener, and you guys know he's one of my best friends on this planet. We call him Lee the Enigma McLaughlin, the man who got a double lung transplant and woke up that day, even though he was supposed to be in a coma for a month and should have been in the hospital for 4 months, but was out within a month. And he's one of my best friends in the world, like I said. So happy birthday to Lee Cheech, the Enigma McLaughlin. We love you, buddy, and we're happy you are still here, and we are happy that the new pipes are helping you be here, man. So on that note, happy birthday, brother. So before we get started with tonight's guest, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Virgin's World Famous Jerky from Sundre, Alberta. And, here at the After Dark Show, we love to support local, small, independent businesses wherever we can. I had the opportunity to meet the owners of Virgin's World Famous Jerky this past weekend at the Didsbury's Christmas Market. Not only did they offer me some amazing samples of their delicious jerky, which is available in various flavors such as sweet and spicy teriyaki, salt and pepper. So if you're looking for some tasty handmade jerky goodness, go check them out at virginsjerky.com. And I'm actually going to throw the video up here real quick. My sound's a bit wonky. All right, I will switch mics just 1 second. There we go. I hope that's better. So as I was saying, I'm sorry about that, guys. It was set up for my son's drum lesson, and these things happen. But anyways, go check them out at virginsjerky.com. They are an amazing small business, and I'm going to actually throw this on here real quick. Just because to help promote them a bit. This is some of their stuff, and that's some of the stuff they gave me. Oh my God, is it ever good? Like, I'm sorry the pictures are a bit small, but you guys should definitely go check them out because they are an amazing small business and they're just trying to get back up going, and I want to help support that. So on that note, and I guess my sound is much better. So now that I've made my love of jerky known to the world, I've totally exposed myself onto tonight's guest. I first met tonight's guest. Her name is Joy Child of the Universe at the second annual Sacred Valley Spiritual and Metaphysical Fair in Drumheller, Alberta. That was actually hosted by Sonia Roy, who's been on my show a couple of times, and Chris Pell of over at the Redo Spiritual Wellness Center. Joy Child is an author, a public speaker, a sound healer, and a sound healing practitioner, and a provider of a healthy water purification system. All of which we're planning on discussing tonight. And I wrote this interview last night, and I finished writing this interview last night. And the further I got into it, I realized we're going to just touch on the water tonight, because there's a pretty good chance with how amazing her book is and how much just some of the content in her book really thick. And I can't wait to get into that. I'm just going to finish reading her book, What If We're Not All Here Because We're Not All There, is an elegantly written collection of Joy Child's musings, thoughts, and observations regarding the situation, challenges, and experience we as sentient beings having this human experience face and have faced on our journey through this existence. This philosophical treat for the mind focuses on 5 key points: history, spirituality, the ego, religion, and government and politics. Before I bring her on, I also want to mention at the back of the book, she has also left several free pages. So as you're reading the book, and if you come up with your own what ifs inspired by her what ifs, there's a space to write it. And it's a really wonderfully written book. And I'm so happy to have you on the show. Thank you, Joy, for coming.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. And like I was telling everybody, we actually got to know each other at the Spiritual Wellness Fair where you were a speaker. And do you want to tell everybody what your experience was like there? And we'll just kind of roll from there, I guess.
Well, that first wellness fair was my very first to have a table at. I'd been to many over the years, but it was the energy was just so fantastic there because everybody was happy and joyful and like Tilly, for instance, who was right across from me with her table. She was just a bundle of joy, just bopping around everywhere and meeting people such as yourself and your wife and all the other people that were there. It was just so. Both my husband and I were just totally elated and had the best weekend in a very long time being out away from the farm.
Yeah. And it looks like you have fans in the audience. Michelle King of QHHT says that she loves Joy Child.
I love her too.
And there's my wife chiming in saying the fair was so much fun. And it was like I really just come into this over the last couple of years. Like I've had my spiritual awakening, and some people just wake up rubbering their eyes. I got my ass kicked out of bed, and it was like, hey, time to wake up. Guess what? You're gonna figure everything out, dummy. Um, and that's basically how it went for me. But I love meeting people, and that's one of the best ways I like to get to know people, and is asking the question, what would you say is your burning bush or turning point moment where you had your spiritual awakening? Like sometimes it's more than one, right? But what moment or moments would you say truly brought about your spiritual awakening and journey into the metaphysical?
Well, I had many of them. I guess the very first one that I actually recall, uh, I was, I don't know how old I was, but I remember I was at my grandparents' place in the crib, and they had closet doors that had mirrors on them, like little square mirrors all over them. And I remember standing up in the crib and looking and going, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" so, uh, and then after that, when I was 4 years old, I remember standing outside looking up at the sky and saying, what am I doing here? These humans are nuts. Their energies are crazy. What am I doing here? So that's kind of my first experiences and remembrances.
And I get that too. Like there's a lot of things, like I've interviewed a lot of people that have that open perception from that raw exposure from a very very young age. Like I said, myself, up until a couple of years ago, I was just tumbling ass backwards through a 3D existence, not knowing. Like what I knew 2 years ago was that I'm pretty sure ghosts are real, and I know I saw a UFO when I was a kid because there was a bunch of witnesses, right? That's what I knew
Right.
about any of this a few years ago. And then it was like poof. And I actually somewhat envy people that have had that open perception the entire time, because it almost feels like I've missed so much of what's been going on around me, because there's multiple densities and layers and realities and timelines and all of these things that I was just walking past for like 45 years of my life.
Well, it does have some advantages and some disadvantages. Some disadvantages. I'll start off with that. Um, I was what do you call? I was very strange and unusual. And my dad would always say, oh, like we'd have a Sunday dinners, for instance. And he'd say, "Well, how do you know that?" And it's like, "Well, I don't know how I know that. I just know that." And oh, you're just into your focus thing again. So I mean, like, hocus pocus was my dad's favorite word with me around, and my brothers would just kind of look at me sideways. So but my mom always knew something. My great grandfather, he passed away when I was 4 years old. And he was very intuitive as well. So he could look into your eyes and he could tell you anything, and he had no schooling on any kind of metaphysics or not anything, but he just knew he could see auras. My nephew can see auras. My niece can see spirits. So yeah, it's kind of something that runs in our family, and you know, I
And
like it.
that actually seems to be a thing too. Like a lot of people, it almost seems to be there'll be a family of experiencers or a family that are all gifted and more in tune. Like, you know, me and my mother are very similar in a lot of ways. And then my sister was very academic and very like book, and I was the street smart, she was the book smart, but my mom and I were the same. And it was like we were kind of peas in a pod, but my sister was like the book smart, intelligent one, right? And there was a lot of overlap. Like you when there's one normal person in a group, you're like, oh, the normal person's here. How do we talk now? Right? Like you actually get that.
But define the word normal,
That
right?
that's true. No,
What's
good call.
for you not be normal for anybody else. So normal is a word that we use in language. It's like the word try. You can't try to do anything. You either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
So there's no such trying should actually never have come into our language.
I'm covering my mouth because I just introduced interviewed MT Kunga that was at also at the event that we met at, and he said the exact same thing but was quoting something from the Buddha. Uh, you guys
Right.
literally just said the same thing.
Well,
Sorry, that just messed me
it's
up for a
true.
second. I was like, holy
You see
crap.
what so
Somebody's
cute
trying
at
to
that
tell me
age.
something. Wow. Okay. So we've touched on your spiritual awakening. Where did the name Joy Child of the Universe originate?
I had a reading done. I think it was probably around 2007, and the lady had told me. She says, "You do know what your real name is, don't you?" And I said, "No." And she says, "It's Joy Child of the Universe." And this was a spiritual healer from Alaska that
Oh,
and um, and I just said, well, okay, well, what do I do with it? And she said, well, when the time is right, you'll know. You'll know what to do. You'll know when to use it. And so as I was writing the book, um, the message came clear into my head that it's time to use it. So that's what I do.
I love that, and it's a wonderful name. And I can, having met you and spent a couple of days with you, and even watching you speak publicly, I can see how that is an energy that you do project out into the universe. Like you just have a emission of light. I think is the only word I can say, because we've met in physicality and I've been in your energetic presence, and you do bring a certain glow to the room. So I understand the
Thank
name
you.
completely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, so another question I'd like to ask is, with the metaphysical understanding, is there any overlap or contradiction with your indigenous beliefs? Because I believe you're Ojibwe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part
So
Ojibwe.
part Ojibwe. Is there ever
Yeah.
any overlap or contradiction with like the spiritual and metaphysical stuff as compared to what you would know from your culture?
Well, I actually, my mother, just to put it in plain terms that everybody understands, my mother is white. So I grew up with my mother, and I did not grow up in the on a reserve or in with indigenous. I grew up around some indigenous friends, through school and what have you. So they taught me here, there, and then it was. I think it wasn't until something like 1997 that I actually met my birth father's uh, sister. And that's when I got to really investigate. And she was working at Tawasin First Nation in Vancouver, the lower mainland. And she had asked me to transcribe some books that they had from the elders that needed to go on floppy disks. So you know how old that is. And that's where I really got intrigued with the Aboriginal. It was my kicking stone to get interested in the native traditions and understanding them and the stories that they had, and it was absolutely fascinating. One of the biggest things that ever came into my world. It actually rocked my world at that time because there was just so much information and stories and traditions and the things that they did, and it was just like, we really need to bring that back. And it doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter whether you're a religious person or not. You you get involved in these things, and it helps you feel centered, grounded, and balanced.
Absolutely. And Michelle King was saying she has a calm, beautiful energy, and you absolutely do. You're just getting all the compliments tonight. Um, so,
Yeah, apparently.
what what inspired you to write the book, though?
I was 13 years. I had. Do you remember those little red wagons that we had? Well, I'm talking back in the 70s. Um, and I had what I like to call mine dream visions, because the vision is so real, but yet I'm in a dream world at the time. And I still remember this so much. Um, I was actually walking down the street, and Reagan books as high as you can see. And I remember waking up in the morning going, I don't like reading. I'm not going to write a book. And then, of course, years later, it took me about 8 years to write this book, even though it's a smaller book, um, because there's a lot of questions that go in my mind, things that I remember from thoughts that I had when I was a little girl, 4 or 5. And then, so all these thoughts went through my head, and then doing research because I want to make sure that I have the correct information. Plus, I had to do some meditations on quite a few of the questions that I had, just to make sure that I had the correct information, right? So in my book, um, these are my thoughts, my words, and if anything in the book is true to you, please hang on to it. If it doesn't, just let it go, because it's not for you to hold on to.
I like that, and I truly enjoy the thought provoking format when like how you ask what if from a discerning point of examination of our universe, like, and that's actually something I do in my own life. I call it the why war, right? I've had a lot of trauma and personal issues and things I've had to work through, and a lot of anger issues, and just stuff that needed filtered out of my head. And when things would start to bother me, I actually used something similar. I call it the why war. It's like, why is this bothering me? Okay, but why? But what? And you just keep filtering it back, and you break it down in that discerning point of examination. And that's where your book seems to come from, is like you ask the question and then break down, you know, the logical responses that you came up with. And I really like that. And what I wanted to ask is, like, when you wrote the book, did it start as a collection of questions and thoughts, or you had about the reality, or was there like always an end-to-end focus for the message that your book wants to deliver?
Actually, it just started out that just writing down questions and then getting responses either from my guides or my higher self or wherever the energy was coming from. And a lot of times, I was working at a grocery store at the time, um, when I was writing a fair amount of the questions. A lot of them came before that, but when I was there and on my lunch break, people would ask me, "Well, what are you doing?" "I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book." But I would never thought I just thought I was just writing in a book for a book for myself personally, right? Yeah, and yeah, got to get out there.
No, I like that because it started off personal, but it expanded into something that you can share and help other people develop their own thought process on these subjects, because a lot of people don't ask the what ifs of this reality. And like I said about myself up until recently, they just travel through this existence and really don't participate in it. And if you're not participating in it and asking questions about the way things work, then you are just kind of coasting through it. And I think this book itself cracks open a lot of those questions that people should be asking.
Right. So
Yeah,
what if you had a healthy body?
that's true.
What road would that take you down? Right? A lot of people, they want to be, they strive to be rich and famous, and do this and do that. And I know there's one question in my book there that I'd thought about a lot. And the question was, what if you could spend, like 48 hours in somebody else's shoes? Who would that be, and why?
Yeah,
Right?
I
um Go ahead.
I was actually gonna, because what I've done is I've actually gathered some of the questions, like excerpts from the book, and I from each section. And I really want to give the viewers and listeners at home a glimpse of kind of the meat and potatoes of the book and the subjects, because like some of them really are. I'm actually going to throw a picture of the book up here. There's the cover of the book there. And yes, that is my copy of it, which happens to be autographed. Haha, yours isn't. So yeah, I actually have an autographed copy of the book in my bedroom. And what I've done is I've grabbed some excerpts from it. And, there's some of the ones that I found that really just kind of triggered thoughts in my own mind. And I just want to bring those up, and we can get into a bit of conversation about each one as we go through and show the thoughts that these simple questions do tend to provoke. So I'll bring up the first one here. It was history. What if we never needed the saying, history repeats itself? When we finally learned our lessons, acknowledge and thank our lessons when we have the opportunity to move forward. I would love to know, like, what did you go, like, where did you go from there? Like, I know because I've read the book, but if you were to explain that question to the audience, like, where were you going with that thought next?
Well, it's just sayings that have been repeated through many or many years. History always repeats itself. Well, why? Why does it repeat itself? Does it have to? Did we not learn our lesson the first time? We had the atomic bomb, and the bomb went. They practiced it to see what would happen, and they took it over to Hiroshima, and kaboom. Um, and the scientist did the atomic bomb actually said, you know, I never this was happen. I would have not have done what I did. So he obviously learned his lesson, but have governments and or um, people that are in military, why are they not learning the lesson? Like peace and love and kindness go a long way, but the programming from lower energy been going through the past 500,000 years, if not maybe longer, um, has about this programming is, kill or be killed.
Yeah.
You know, that mindset just doesn't balance with me, and it it doesn't resonate, but it resonates to the point where I need to ask the question. I need to be saying, well, okay, what is your what if? You know, tell me your response. That's why I put my email address in the back of the book, because I
Yeah.
would love to hear people's responses. And what question in that book triggered to take a deeper look. And that's one of the reasons why I did for everybody, is so that you can take a deeper look. Like there's always two sides of the coin. You're going to have the side that comes from a loving, kind, compassionate energy, and then you're going to have the lower energies with their greed, uh, possession, or being possessive, and the lower energies there. So what I wanted people to do is to start getting some self empowerment.
Yeah. And where that took me, like, I don't know why, but when I read that what if, the first thing I went into was the idea of spelling, and I'm using air quotes for the listeners when this goes to audio, spelling and hexing, because it really does, especially in the English language, seem to be that, sayings like history repeats itself almost seem to bring it about in a metaphysical sense. Like we're often told that our words do cause like a reaction just by what we say. And if they can get everybody
Yes,
saying it, then it's going to happen.
yeah. Our well, our English language is bastardized to begin with, but yes, the spelling is a spell, right? Our words cast spells. So when you are speaking Like for instance, I remember my dad always saying, "Oh yeah, I'll just go into the backyard and go grab the money tree, and I'll go get a few bucks off there for you, and you can go out to see the movies and whatever else you want to do." It's like, well, at the time, money was paper. So yeah, paper is part of wood, trees. So go out into the backyard and get the money tree,
That,
And my dad would always, like, you know.
yeah. No, I do agree. Like, and we really have to watch the language we use and speak with intention, because we can often be tricked into bringing things into our reality that we don't really want. Like,
Well, yeah, and it is so easy. Um, I am always like, I've been taught that 30 seconds before you even think a thought, it has come into your brain and gone out to the universe. 30 seconds before you even think it. So when you become mindful of what your thoughts are, um, you need to start focusing on observing them and changing them as quickly as you can. You know, let's take the word hate for instance. I not one of my favorites, but if you take that word HATE and you think about it, you look in the mirror and you say that word, your energy automatically drops. And if you do the same thing with the word love, your energy automatically goes up because everything is about energy. Everything is about frequency. Everything is about vibration. And this is what is called the eternal Trinity. So, Catholics have the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, or however they do that. It's actually the pure energy, frequency, and vibration that makes the pyramid. So if you're thinking or speaking anything or to anybody or yourself in your mind, you're either going to elevate your energy and your consciousness, or you're going to bring it down. And the more you bring it down, well, that's where depression comes in. That's where you get people that are committing suicide because they just don't feel that there's any help, and they just keep going down that slippery slope. Once you start to um, acknowledge the finer qualities of life and yourself, that's when things start to elevate and you become joyful.
absolutely. And the chat's just going nuts with this whole spelling and manifestation thing. Like Phil was saying, like it's going to happen if you keep speaking. Like, you've got the chat going nuts just off of that. What if? So let's just keep right on rolling into this one. What if
I love it.
what if we open ourselves up to experience the divine intelligence and allow the flow of telepathic frequencies in our daily lives? How would this change our perspective on things? I'll
Mm.
start with this one. And it's interesting that you were just talking about how your thought projects back out into reality before you even realize it, because there's been something very fascinating happening within our house. And we actually now have to remind one another that, when we go out into public, we actually have to use words, because
Yes.
we are basically, when the three of us are in the same room, we're of the same mind. And that's the only way I can explain it, because we all know what the other one is about to say. And it's because we've all tried, like our entire family is doing this trauma clearing ascension journey together, and we've cleared a bunch of shit, and it actually does. When you open and accept that these things do happen, they start to happen. And there's my wife saying 100%, because yeah, it happens almost daily in our house, and it's me, my son, and my wife can now like have almost wordless conversations. Like people would probably not want to come to our house because we barely talk. It's just like, oh yeah, but did you? Well, yeah, no, and we'll know
Yep.
exactly what the other one just said, and it's like other people are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Pardon my
Yeah,
language, but
but
like
isn't it amazing the energy how it just flows and it grows? Isn't that awesome?
it it really is, and like it literally just started picking up within the last year and a half since we've all started like, you know, I'll say, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The clearer you are, the clearer your channel is, right?
Yes.
Since we switched over to a healthier food lifestyle, since we like, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, the only narcotics are cannabis, because of I refuse to take pharmaceuticals because I am easily addicted, and they were handing me opiates like it was fucking Pez, right? And
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
medical advice to anybody else, so don't fucking strike me, YouTube. Um, but as soon as I started clearing the pharmaceuticals and the narcotics and the the poisons, the connection became much, much clearer. And I do
Right.
think that is true even when we're talking about these types of abilities.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I know about addiction myself. I'm a smoker. And I don't have a problem with that. I know a lot of people are going, "Oh, you're a spiritual person and you're smoking cigarettes," and that's your opinion.
Yeah,
Not everything I do is going to make everybody else happy. The only person that needs to be happy is me.
yeah,
I can't make anybody else happy. I can only make myself happy. And if you don't like what I do, well, your opinion of me is none of my business, because that's your opinion, right?
yeah,
And I don't have to allow your opinion in my zone, right?
yep,
But if we're having a conversation and we're being kind to one another and going, I don't like it when you smoke around me. Oh, okay. Not a problem. I won't smoke around you. I
yeah.
make a mental note of that. But when I'm in my own space and my own time, I do as I choose.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we have choices every moment. And even if you choose not to, and this is not from just from the Rush song, but it's been a saying that's gone on for many millennia. uh, you have a choice at every moment, your every now moment. And even if you choose not to make a choice, you've still made a choice.
That's true.
It is.
Uh, no, it really is. And yeah, you kind of you stumbled me there. Like it really is. That was deep. That one hit me.
Yeah. Well, these are the kind of thoughts that, like, if you could be in my head for like 24 hours, you'd go, "Oh my God, this woman's nuts."
Oh, and I just want to be perfectly clear with everybody. I have no soapbox about alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, or like a promiscuous lifestyle,
Yeah.
because I fucking loved all of it. Right?
Yeah.
I loved it
Oh, we
until I
all
did.
did when we were younger.
Right? I
Yeah.
loved it till I didn't, and I never quit anything because somebody else told me to, and I would never tell somebody else to quit something something because it's none of my fucking business, right? If
Yeah.
it's making you happy, do you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That that does not affect my reality. Just
As
as you were
long as you're
saying, like their opinion of you does not. Yeah,
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting anybody, emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually, um, doesn't matter. You know, just
no,
allow.
absolutely.
We all have our own special experiences, and as you were saying, like that you and your wife and your son are all kind of telepathic when you're at home together. Um, that's what it's like. That's what it's supposed to be like. And so imagine everybody on this planet starting to becoming like that at home with their
Yeah,
family members. I mean, you know, at some point that everybody is speaking their truth. And that is what's really important. Like we've gone through centuries of lying, of bullshit, of he said, she said. When is enough enough? I think now is it's time. You know,
I believe that as well. I think we are definitely at a crossroads or a spiritual tipping point where people are either going to get on board or there's the thing that happened in 2020 was the point of separation, and it seems like there's been two roads in reality since then. And I've been observing that quietly. And you're either on one or you're on another. And I'm very happy with the one I'm on, and I'm trying to bring as many people as I can from the one that doesn't look like it's that enjoyable over to this one. But there definitely has been some type of decisions made, and it really is time. I believe that you're right. And
well, yeah,
but
it's all a soul choice. We've made these decisions. We've all had a roadmap before we even came into this incarnation. So with this roadmap, it's like forks in the roads, and you can go this way or you can go, road A, road B, road C, and it's your choice. That's where free will comes in. So when we have free will, we can choose, do we want to go down road A, B, or C? And each one will have similar but different experiences and understandings for our own growth. A friend of mine has a couple of kids, and the kids are, oh, I can hardly wait until I graduate from school and get out of school and don't have to go to school anymore. And it's just like, excuse me, but you're on schoolroom earth. So every moment you are learning or understanding. So it's a process. Some people are on an island, and everybody's on this island, and you need to get to this other island. Some people are taking a speedboat. Some people are doing the backstroke. Some people are parasailing. You know, everybody's got their individual way of getting to the other side or to the other island. We'll all eventually get there. Some are just going to be a little slower than others.
I think that's very well said. And this next one, what if native legends and folklore are right when they say that we are now in the fifth cycle of Earth? And what does that mean? And I actually believe, if I'm on the right track about this, it is my opinion that this is not humanity's first go around, but I am very interested to hear what the native legends and folklore was, because I am unfamiliar.
Hmm. Well, I've read some native books, and Barbara Hand Clow. Have you ever read her books?
No, I'm not familiar.
She's a okay. Well, she's an author. One of my favorite authors. I've got many favorite authors. Um, and she had in the native community as well, and I think her father or grandfather, I believe, was a shaman, something like that. Anyways, I've read books from her and from other books, and they do say like we in the fifth cycle. So the first cycle of the Earth was when, if you believe Lemuria, in Lemuria, it was in between United States and Japan. So Japan is uh, gone below in the sea, and I think they did this back in the 90s, and they discovered kind of like buildings and stepping stones and things like that, and so that's where the Lemurians were, and they call them Mu, and so that was the first generation. Now the second one was a little bit of Lemuria and Atlantis. And then, of course, everybody knows the stories of Atlantis, and Atlantis went down, but Atlantis went down in three different parts. So there was the northern part, the central part, and then the southern part that all went down. And then the third one was it, the Egyptian times when there was the uh, uprising of humanity in and around Iran, Iraq, and all those places area. So that was the third, and we are in the fourth right now, and we are going into the fifth. Now, some of us are going into, not going into the fifth, from what I understand. Choose to the fifth cycle, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be just like something that we haven't experienced since our Mother Earth went from the fifth dimension down to the third dimension. And that was the fall of Mother Earth. So she went from um, the fifth dimension down to the third dimension. So you could include that in there too if you wanted to.
That is that is really cool, because like it actually shows, like, especially like I've seen the stuff under the water where there's like roadways to like what used to be cities and stuff. Like you can find these pictures on the internet and they're fairly common. So like I do believe there's been past existences of humanity, absolutely. Like I think that's without question that this is not
Mm-hmm.
humans first go round. And I wish I could find the picture, because William, my son, and I were just talking about this, how like, we're told mankind and dinosaurs weren't together, but there's a painting from like 200 years before dinosaurs were discovered, like the bones were discovered with humans and dinosaurs together. So it's like, kind of thinking even that might be wrong, but you never know. Like there probably was a
Yeah,
type of
no, that
human
was
that.
in
Good.
yeah. The pottery was discovered in Mesoamerica actually,
Okay.
and that was back in I think the 70s or 80s that they actually discovered the pottery. And I was watching a documentary on it actually, and it clearly depicted dinosaurs with the humans. And of course, this planet is billions of years old. So human life only be in existence here for the past 12 since the Younger Dryas. I don't see how that works.
Yeah, that does.
I mean, doesn't make any sense to me because like if you're looking at the Jungian thinking, uh, humans did not come from apes. There's no way.
No.
I mean, there might be similar characteristics, but we didn't evolve from apes. And how would we evolve so quickly?
Yeah.
You know, what if that theory is totally wrong, totally opposite of what happened, right?
I believe it.
And us for us to believe, yeah, for us to believe that we've only been here for the past 10, 12,000 years, it doesn't make sense. It's like the pyramids. They say the pyramids are only 6,000 years old from present date, and it's just no. I've I've got the feeling and understanding that the pyramids were built um, uh, when Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, was still in the fifth dimension
Yeah.
before the fall. So there's a lot of things. I mean, there's pyramids all over this planet that have been hidden. And I mean, one of the really big ones is in China. Do a very good job of hiding.
Yeah.
Are you getting some
Michelle.
comments?
No, I was just Michelle in the chat was saying that absolutely it comes through in her sessions. So I actually have had QHHT done and have experienced some of my multi-dimensional or other versions of my consciousness. So I'm very well aware that we've been many different places many different times. So well, some of us have,
Yeah,
and then there's
yeah.
others of
Oh,
us
you
that
got to
just
meet
came.
Michelle. You got to meet Michelle. You'll love her. She.
Yeah, and I am very highly susceptible to hypnosis, so we'll figure something out. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
so, do pop this spiritual. What if, as we birth into this incarnation, society held the values of spiritual connection to all that is? And I found this one very fascinating. And further into this what if, you explore the clairs, which I believe we all once possessed, but they've been slowly stripped away and removed basically from societal construct and convenience, right? But I do think like if go ahead.
I don't think they've been stripped away. I think they've been hidden. Um, they have been. Uh, oh, you can't use that. You can't do that. It's like when you're a little kid and you have these imaginary friends, right? You can see them. I remember seeing them. I saw some pretty nasty ones when I was younger. And my grandmother would always say, "Oh, well, it's just your imagination. It's just your imagination." Well, that's part of programming. They they think that it is just your imagination, that you're not actually seeing these things. But like, I mean, for my niece, for instance, she gets woken up in the middle of the night by spirit, nudging at her or tapping on her shoulder or something, and it's real. It is really. So people need to see that that's a program that's no longer valid.
Mhm.
If your kid has an imaginary friend, start asking questions. What if? What if this kid is real? What if this is someone from his higher self? I mean, we all live in parallel dimensions.
I
there's many.
I believe that too because you know I've done segments on my show about I think there's a lot of misnomers in mental illness like you know dementia is literally you can see into other dimensions except you don't know how to filter it and people end up acting like that and get put on lots of medication. I also believe the same about children. Like, I don't believe that that filter has been installed yet. And they do see things that we don't. And they do experience things that, the modern mundane programmed 3D workaday Joe Sixpack don't. Like that's the nicest
Yeah,
way I can say it is like the people that have that veil, the veil is removable, right? It's
yes.
not that there's a veil right here. It's the veil that has been laid. You have to strip it away. It's not just going to disappear. You have to work through the layers of shit that filter your perception of our reality.
And that's where self-empowerment, we all need to do what we can as best as we can to regain our self-empowerment, like news. That is so full of lower energy and understanding differences between lower energies and higher energies. What is being spoken as the truth? What is being spoken as bullshit?
Mhm.
You got to get that little meter going in the brain that says, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Oh, this person is speaking the truth, so I'm going to listen to this person. You know, and it's not just in the brain. Sometimes we got to literally get out of your head, get out of your mind, and get into your heart and listen to your gut instincts. If you're going somewhere down the road and you get a gut feeling that you need to turn left right now, then do it. Doesn't matter if you're on your way to work or on your way home, or it's going to take you 10 miles away out of your direction. Do because your body, your spirit, your higher is talking to you, and it's our time to start listening to that guidance.
I
Otherwise, yeah,
absolutely dead on the freaking nose because that is something I've discovered. And again, over the last couple of years, is that gut instinct. I now use my body as a lie detector. I will ask myself and higher self questions. And like, I've basically come up with the system like a sick feeling is no, nothing is no real thought on it. And if I get kind of like the butterfly, the internal butterfly, then that's a solid yes. Your body is a living lie detector. This is the most fascinating piece of equipment in this reality. I don't care what Apple brings out next year. This is the technology you should pay attention to because it's fucking awesome. Okay, because nobody does,
absolutely, yes,
right?
yeah.
We
Well,
can
it's
do
just like muscle
amazing things.
testing is what, yeah. So when you do muscle testing many years ago, um, I had a little workshop going on, and I was teaching people how to muscle test. And a lady says, "Well, oh, that's when you go forward for yes and no for you go backwards for no, right?" Well, yeah, in a way that is muscle testing, but I do it a different way because I've been told to do it a different way. Because when you program your body to go yes for yes and backwards for no, that's somebody else's programming. That's not yours. It's not your. So when you program when you are teaching people to do muscle testing with their own bodies, they need to, for instance, my one brother when I taught him, left arm would for a yes, and for a no, his left leg would start. Well, that is how his energy is. That's only for him, for everybody, and a lot of people have gotten this in their mindset to be generic and it has to be like everybody else in order to fit in. Well, many of us, myself, very much from my own experiences, very rarely ever fit in anybody or any society or any group. I was kind of like the black sheep of the family. The one of my uh one of my friends one time introduced me as, "Oh, this is our Shirley MacLaine of the group," which I took as a compliment because I love Shirley MacLaine, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be uniquely you. And, and when you're doing how to muscle test, you have to be uniquely you. That's all there is to it.
And the only thing I would say on top of that, and is to learn to read your own pantomimes and traits, because that when you start like with your brother, the one thing with his left leg and his left arm, this was this was this, you're going to have your own reactions and you're going to know what they mean because it's an internal sense when you start practicing these things. It really is like you'll feel it
Absolutely.
inside and
Yeah.
you'll know what they mean. That's just the way it works. I know I sound like I'm a spiritual nut job, but I'm really not. I can talk to my body and it tells me stuff. So
Yeah. But see, that's the thing too, that's very important, is listening to your body and not just saying, "Oh, well, oh, this is happening. Oh, okay. Well, let's just ignore it along." When you sit and observe and understand what's going on with your body, why am I getting this reaction? That's all a part of it. That's where we all need to be, is taking responsibility for our thoughts, words, deeds, and actions, as well as listening to the inside, because our bodies are so highly intelligent. You can take our brains right out of our heads, and our bodies will just function just properly, just no worries. They'll function great.
I can
So,
attest to that because I have a very strange condition of sleepwalking, and I've shared it on the show before. We refer to it as our my night person. I will get up, I will be able to answer questions, complete tasks, carry on conversations, but I'm not consciously there, right? I've fallen asleep.
right.
My body will get up and like my wife can, hey, can you grab me a glass of water? Yeah. But she'll ask me about it in the morning. No recollection of it whatsoever. I have an autopilot, right? When my consciousness, because I am of the Dolores Cannon mindset that your consciousness does not just sit around while you sleep for 8 hours. It's got shit to do, right? I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, yeah.
Dolores did it that way,
Yeah.
but I'm paraphrasing. It's
Yeah.
got other shit to do. It's not going to hang out all night and just be like, oh, he's sleeping. No. There's multiple realities, and time is only a construct of this one. So like, you can be gone for 5 minutes here and be 2 weeks there, and that's where your consciousness goes. Well, when my consciousness goes away, sometimes my body gets up and just does stuff. And
Right.
you're absolutely correct that these things can run without the brain engaged because mine does it all the time.
Right, right. And like really, um, if we had no brains, because the consciousness is not in our brain, the consciousness is like way out, uh, you know, maybe a meter away from us, possibly.
Mhm.
What if it is, right? So our consciousness is out there. It's not in our brain. So if you took our brains out of our head and put them into your gut, you would make more sense. Right? Because
yeah.
your gut is closer to your heart than what your brain is. So when you're coming from the brain, depending on your advancement and your observations, your learning lessons, this can be more of ego, where the gut is closer to your heart, so that's going to speak your truth. So getting out of here and going into here or into the heart is always the best situation.
I agree, and that's actually a conversation I was just having with a close friend of mine today about living from the. You're all in my conscious space right now, Joy, and it's kind of cool because like you've quoted a couple of people I've talked to recently, and I'm like, this is just trippy. Like, there's some messages that are being repeated to me, like, "Hey, get it, stupid!" Like, you've had this many people, yeah. So,
yeah, but don't call yourself stupid because you're not stupid. I mean, like that too. See right there, that lowers your energy, right? So
yeah.
get it together. But, you're getting it.
Yeah.
You know, it's clicking. You know, do the 3 clicks
I
with your
have
fingers.
A very healthy. I have a very healthy relationship with my subconscious, though, so I'm pretty sure it knows I'm just fucking with it when I call it stupid. So, what if we believe that our reality, our waking world, is nothing but a dream, and our dream world, our sleep time, is our reality? And I've explained this earlier. This concept is very near and dear to my heart because of spirit, my spiritual awakening was multidimensional conscious experiences. I honestly believe and have been attempting to refine the ability to select the reality that you awaken in when we rest our bodies here. Much like I was talking about, I know my consciousness goes in other places when I go to sleep because I've had full on like weeks and months of other conscious existences where it's just a slightly different timeline. Like I'm still with Kyla, and you know we're here at this stage of our life, and I'm living it, and I'm there for like I said, weeks and months, and then I come back here, and I've only been asleep for a couple of hours, right? I know. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish it off.
No, I get.
Well, we all live parallel lives. We all have many of ourselves. You know, like what is it in the Bible? They say that only 144,000 will survive. Well, that 144,000 is you, just you, or just me. Because if you think about it, there is, along with your physical being, there's 11 other yous. So that makes 12. And out of those 12, there's 12 other beings. And this goes on and on and on and on. So if you're doing the 12 times 12 times 12 times 12 times 12, you're going to get to 144,000, right?
Yeah.
So that 144,000 is actually, if you think about it, one person.
That is a really cool concept. And I'm trying to remember, and of course I can't. There's something to do with 144,000 connections and something. My friend Steven from BG Cast talks about this, and I'm drawing a blank, and it is so relevant to this, and this sucks that I can't remember it. But I digress, and I will move on. It'll be something to remember the next time we talk. Uh, what if we connect to Mother Earth with our friends, family, guides, ancestors, angels, galactic families? Would we then finally realize we are one? And that's kind of what you were just talking about.
Right. Yeah. It all comes down to one.
I I honestly think we all stepped outside of the if we all stepped outside of the construct and truly connected with earth and each other, the human experience would return to the way it's supposed to be. I don't believe the societal construct, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm not trying to put it down anybody's throat. I don't believe the societal construct that we live in right now is the way this human experience is meant to be. I don't believe that we're supposed to be victim of a financial slavery system. I don't believe, like, if you even look back to uh, medieval times, like the the regular people of that era worked a third of the amount of time of the average North American, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had more life to live back then, but we look at them like, oh, they were so impoverished and they had to grow their own food. Good, because that's the way
Yeah.
it's supposed
Yeah.
to be. The
Well, yeah. That's
convenience is
uh,
what has brought us here.
yes, and it's gotten way out of hand. I mean, technology is good. Um, I have issues with it, personal issues with technology. I'm not very savvy on because I didn't grow up in an area that had technology like the kids today. Like, you know, I saw one YouTube video where a gentleman was showing all these different kids, from different videos, and they would get their phone or their iPad or whatever it was taken away from them because they were not doing as they were supposed to do, and that they would just scream and yell and cry, and they were they were just a mess because they didn't have this technology. Well, that too is a part of programming. I have these kids. I want them out of my hair. Let's just throw them this. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about reading a book?
Right? I actually saw something similar to what you're talking about, and it actually kind of hurt me inside. It was, and I don't know why anybody would do this, and please don't think I condone what I watched, but they gave infants, like babies in a crib, screens to watch and for extended periods of time, and then took them away, and they looked like heroin addicts. Like they
Yeah.
uncontrollably screamed because the instant dopamine that their small little mind had already gotten addicted to was suddenly yanked away. That in
Hmm.
itself should
Yeah.
show you the detriment that the advancements of society is actually causing. Right, we're junkies to the
Right.
screens. We're even my job, I couldn't do my job without my phone. Right, I don't know enough about the city of Calgary to do my job without my phone. I'm reliant on it.
Right.
Without my phone,
Yeah.
I'm useless to my employer. My
Yeah.
my my phone
See, when
has a
I'm
job. I just
yeah.
drive.
Yeah. When I was in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, when I was living there, when I first went there from Winnipeg, is where I'm originally from. Um, I had a map, paper map, and I'd draw a line where I needed to go in Vancouver, and I learnt those back streets like that. I moved from Vancouver to Calgary with the job that I was with, and had a friend there in Calgary, and I would go to her place and I'd say, "Here's my keys, drive me." There was no way I wanted to learn the Calgary streets, so I
No.
don't blame you.
Oh, it's terrible. And nothing against the city of Calgary. I was born there. I'm not shitting on Calgary, but oh my god, is it terrible to drive through, especially with a dually septic truck, like tri-parallel parking.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, it's not
that's
fun.
shitty.
Uh, I love the joke. That is the best part of my job. I'm just gonna squirrel here for a second, and I've said it before. I love the humor associated with my job, and it's one of the parts that makes it. First of all, I get paid to drive and work for like 7 minutes at a time and just think all day. But like the jokes and the puns and the stuff other people come out with, and even the limericks I read on the bathrooms that people write in black Sharpie before I wash it off. I just take it all as amusement because it's hilarious. And like it
Yep.
is just one of the funniest jobs there really is. And if you have a poor attitude about it, it's going to be miserable. But if you make a joke about it, you can do it with a smile
Yep.
on your face. And I do. Like,
Yep. But that's like with everything in life. If like whether it's your job or whether it's your family life or friends, whatever is going on in your life, be happy about it. Because if you're not happy about it, then you need to change it, right?
absolutely. I think that is very valid. What if your ego is the one running your life?
Mhm.
This, this one is big. Now, this one is a huge barrier for a lot of people who don't realize that they're still living in that ego persona and not from the authentic self, which is funny because Stone Hobbit in the chat was just talking about being authentic. The goal is not to kill your ego, but to integrate it with yourself. Like you don't have to get rid of it. It's part of you. You just can't
Yeah.
let it control you. You can use it as a reference point. You can, that's my ego talking or that's my shadow talking. You don't have to get rid of these things. Use them as a file, use them as a jumping off point because a lot of
Mhm.
people are living either from their ego or Carl Jung, the persona, right? Like there's so many I've had probably a dozen different personas in the 47 years I've been alive. Like after I started reading about the ego and persona, it's like, holy shit, I've been a lot of different people while I've been this human, right? So you literally do have to discover how to come from your authentic self, or you're
Right.
just traveling as the ego.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, definitely. And like you said, different personas of you. Well, that just reflects to the uh, the other perspectives of your life, right? So, parallel lives, whether you're sleepwalking or whether it's personality, like sometimes, I'll be sitting here and talking with my partner, and I look at him and I go, "And what are you doing today?" Or just a funny voice starts coming out, start talking that way. Well, to me, like that's another aspect of who we are, and it's fun. You know, you gotta have a lot of fun. Um, there are way many people, myself included, that have moments of taking life so seriously. Now, there are times to be serious, but there are also times to have fun and enjoy, who you're with when, whatever you're doing, you know. So you got to take it as it comes. And with your ego, if your ego is running your life, well, you know what? Your energy isn't going to be up where it needs to be. Your conscious levels will not be up where they need to be. Um, you're just, the oh, everything happens to me. Well, guess what? Nothing ever happens to you. It happens for you. And it happens for you for greater understanding, learning lessons. And if
Absolutely.
your ego is saying, you know what? Oh, look at that outfit that person is wearing. That's just tacky. You know, yeah, that's just your ego.
Yeah.
And you got to know when your ego is talking to you, because there's moments where the ego will give you some good information or good understandings, but there's also a lot of times where you have to tell your ego, you know what? I'm driving the bus today. You're
Yeah.
not. You need to take the back seat. Period. End of story. I want no arguments. Just back there.
Yeah. And Stone Hobbit in the chat just said almost the exact same thing. Ego, say thank you for the years of service. They can have a holiday. Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely. Oh, Stone Hobbit is, she comes out with some great ones. Uh, and
That's awesome.
I'm actually gonna have her on in January as well. We just gotta figure out which date because I have to do something. So what if all religions on this planet joined together with their teachings? This one was big for me as well. And so just let me flip to my notes here so I get this right. I have often said on this show, I think the way to understand the true inner workings or the true physics of our reality, we need to compare notes with one another, not fight and, no, well, that's not what my religion or that's not what my metaphysical, well, I'm New Cajun, well, I'm this, well, it's when you stop and compare notes and see where everything is the same that you're going to start to find out the way the physics of this reality, the things that we can work with in the energies. A lot of things are stripped out of every religion, and then a lot of mankind's bullshit and opinions is scooped on top of some truly useful information, right? I've talked to people that are religious researchers that'll say there's almost in an average new Bible, there's almost nothing of the original, right? Because all of the magic, all of the spirituality has been stripped away, and it's man's opinion, right? And
Yes. Yeah.
when you can look at the religions and find those metaphysical, spiritual points, and you can find them in all religions, those are the nuggets of information that need to be put together. So that question like blew my mind because it's something I've tried to wrap my head around a few times, is like, if you found the valid points of all the religions, because I think it all comes from the same place. I think it's just been scattered throughout the realm and split up
Mm-hmm.
amongst the nations and given to them as religion, and then, like I said, mankind did their own shit to it. That's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what your thought is.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked that question is many years ago I was reading biography of yoga, uh, about Paramahasma Yogananda, and that is what his goal was. And I thought, well, you know what? That's a fantastic goal. Why don't all the religions come together? Because, like you said, there are many similarities, but at the same time, it's been from and I'm not putting anybody down. This, I believe we all are brothers and sisters, but it was when man was running the world and is still today, um, where they have left women and the power of women and everything like that. So now, um, how I see it is that way back when it was like women, the feminine energy ran the world, and then it moved over to the masculine energy of ruling the world. Now, with this, us coming into this new age of Aquarius, as well as cycle of Earth, now is very important, where not only all religions need to come together and speak their truths, but the masculine and the feminine energies need to come together as well to balance that. because it's either been on one hand or it's been on the other hand. And when is it going to come together and be balanced? Because if you've got one up here and one here, that's not a balance,
No.
right? So there has to be balance in everything, and taking responsibility for your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions is where the religions need to start. I mean, if you look at the Hindu religion and Buddhism, they're pretty much, very balanced. um, they have women that are nuns, they're not monks, but the majority of their religions are monks. And I don't know why that is, but I think there would be definitely a benefit to having more women in as monks. And like, they all dress the same, so why not they just be and all dress the same? You know, we've gotten into times of separation and of identity.
Hmm.
Oh, you're a woman, so you can only do this, this, and this. I'm a man, and I can do this and this and this, right? So, and keep you separated. Now is not the time. That's old world, and old world is going in the trash heap. And I'm sorry, but the new stuff has to come alive. The new energies have to be. They don't have to be, but they should be acknowledged, allowed, and you know, it's a blessing. We're all here. We've all decided to be here at this time. So on this grand adventure, and just imagine where we could possibly be going from here. You know, could we be seeing our brothers and sisters, in the 12th dimension, or, you know, going wherever?
It absolutely. And where did that just go? I lost it. But Stone Hobbit was just reiterating, like, all beliefs and cultures across the world have a piece of the whole, and it, you
Yes.
know, the division of our societies and religions and cultures is intentional, and it's to keep the pieces away from each other, because then we'd be in control and need no government, because we'd understand everything about this reality, right? Because if we had all the
Yeah.
information and weren't fighting over who's right and who's wrong, we wouldn't be able to be distracted by a fucking puppet show with people in suits that pretend that they're in charge and just take all of our shit. But that's just my opinion.
Are you playing with your imaginary friend?
Yes. Sometimes he likes to talk too. Uh-huh. Uh, what if you knew the absolute truth about our government and the world management teams, i.e., the UN, World Health Organization, and Big Pharma? Now you see where I was going with that.
Yeah, I do. I had a feeling you're.
Yeah, I think that one pretty well says it up. Uh, I think this would cause the average person, and I'm not labeling anybody. I'm talking about people who are just living their life and okay with the existence in the workaday world. If the absolute truth about these organizations came out to the general public, I don't think most people would be okay. That's my thought
Yeah,
on that. What
yeah,
if?
yeah. But if you look at it, when you're balanced with yourself and you love yourself, not narcissistically, but you truly love yourself for who you are, where you've come from, the road you've traveled, and things like that, and have great respect for yourself, and can see through the rose colored glasses and see what the absolute truth really is about the UN and Big Pharma and the World Health Organization and the FDA and the list goes on and on and on and on, as you know. when you get the clearer picture of what the underlying motives have been, that's when you're going to go, aha, I got it.
Yeah. Okay, we got one more what if, and I know we're gonna do this again in January because there's so many what ifs in your book. We could just do a series on it, but I want people to buy the book as well, so we won't tell them everything that's in it because that would just be silly, right?
But I'm
So,
working on book 2.
oh,
What if it really is?
uh, so one last. What if global warming is just propaganda and fear? This is a
Yep.
subject I have talked about many times that I do believe they control our environment. And there's two scopes of thought on this. You can go down the creator being, like we were saying earlier, what we think, say, and project into our reality becomes that reality. And, they tell us about global warming and are we creating it? Or it's absolute fucking nonsense and they're controlling the weather. Either one of those, I think, have some type of relevance because I'm kind of two minds on it. It could be one or it could be the other. We could be creating the reality, and global warming is part of the narrative and the propaganda. So us as creator beings, we're making it happen, or it's not happening at all, and it's just a scam.
No, it is happening. But the thing is it's not just happening on Earth. It is also happening in the universe. So we're all connected to one another. That means that we're all connected to everything in the universe. So when that happens, uh, like who was it? Um, oh, mind meld. Um, Carson, Billy Carson, went out and bought himself and I love Billy Carson. He went out and he bought himself a telescope and he wanted to learn how to, read the signs in the sky and the stars and the whatever. And he noticed this anomaly. And so he watched this anomaly and he kind of wrote it down. And I mean, Billy Carson is very, very intelligent. He's definitely otherworldly, that's for sure. And so he sent his findings to NASA, which he had seen some anomaly going on out there in the universe, and noticed that it was doing these certain things as well as the Earth is doing these certain things. So everything is connected. There's nothing separate. So when you get it into your mind sight that everything is connected, you are connected to everything. So all your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions are also connected out into the universe. So as above, so below. As within, so without. The hermetics of that. So what happens above happens below. What happens below also happens above. So when we apply the hermetics to that, we can have a better understanding that yes, there is global warming, but it's not global, it's universal warming. So this is going on everywhere. Unfortunately, the people with the money have decided to take it a step further and make it propaganda and make it fearful and get everybody, my mother is nothing but a worrier. She worries about this, worries about that. Well, what does that fear and that worry do to you? It lowers your energy. You feel sick all the time. Well, this is what they want to do. And besides that, fear, FEAR, stands for false evidence appearing real. So if
Hmm.
it's false evidence appearing real, what is it? It's an illusion.
Yeah. I like that acronym.
Bada boom, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
I
that's
like
how I
that.
look at it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so everybody that's listening can get your book on Amazon. I know Jason threw the link up earlier. I'm going to show the cover here again because I want to. And it is such a cool book and such a cool cover. And if you guys have the opportunity, please pop over to Amazon and grab this because it's gonna make you think, and you're gonna end up filling the back of the book because it does cause you to go into the questions that most of us don't really have time or think to ask. And when you start to ask these questions, you start to understand more about what's going on around us. So for that, I can't. I actually want to thank you for writing this book because it brought out so many questions of my own, and it made me do my own what ifs as I was going through it. So it really is awesome.
Well,
But
I'm grateful to be an inspiration for, delving more into it. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Um, we were actually talking the other day as well. You are a sound healer or a sound practitioner as well. Do you want to tell everybody like when did you first get into using sound as a healing modality? I guess would be the first question.
Well, I was a massage therapist when I was 4 years old. And uh, I've always loved music. Majority of my friends were musicians, and I guess you could say I was a groupie, but I wasn't a friend. But I was always hanging around the bands because I knew them all, and I just so admired their talent and the sounds that they could make either with the drums or guitar or even the piano, like the melodies, the harmonies, and the tones. It just really sparked something within me. And so there was one day I got a hand forged Tibetan singing bowl, and I just love this singing bowl, and I've used it on myself a lot over the years, and it does help to balance that harmony within you, your energies. When you got aches and pains and things like that, and then uh, studying about the different frequencies and what different hertz do for different parts of your body and things like that. So, and doing that with tuning forks, and then I have a little gong, and then I have my chimes, and I have my my drum, my native drum that is deer hide, and that is just an incredible. So I'll have to play that for you one time.
Um, so would you say that you kind of gathered this information as you went along, or was there a particular resource that you went to learn like how to use the singing bowl and what the like how to use the tuning forks and where to put it and stuff? Like,
Well, I believe in past lives. So, and we've all lived anywhere from maybe 100 to 250,000, 250. So within that, my feeling from my heart comes that I've experienced a lot of these different techniques throughout my different lifetimes. It's kind of like being, um, taking a little piece of each lifetime, and the thing that I really loved in that lifetime and brought it forward to me. And like, people would ask me when I was younger, what are you going to do when you I have no idea. I still don't have any idea what I want to do when I grow up. Like
I'm not gonna.
I stay young forever. Hmm?
I'm just not going to grow up. So,
Exactly. So, um, to me, it's when I delve into something that sparks my interest, that's when I want to gather as much information about it. Like there's a lot of healing modalities that are there, and and I do my own healing on myself because I can, and everybody should, because that's where it all begins. So, in order for you to be an amazing healer, you have to look back on all your lives, whether they're parallel lives or whether they're past lives or whether they're all amalgamated to right now. You still have to take a look at them and say, like, okay, what if this person that's coming to me with this a part of me from another time or parallel time that I'm bringing forward to really learn, right? You got to take a look at those aspects, and you cannot heal another person until you heal yourself. Or even like Jesus didn't actually, or Yeshua didn't actually heal people. What he did was he elevated their energy to correspond with his energy for a balance, and that's how they healed. That is the true story. So, yes, you can heal with your hands. Your hands are very powerful because that's where all your nerve endings are. And when you've got energy coming flowing out of your hands they're properly doing what they need to do, you can elevate somebody else's energy. Who's that?
it's my wife. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I love this." And it's funny. We were talking about, she knows Reiki,
So
and it's
just
because of my digestive issues. So,
right. And see, that's one modality that I never resonated with. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't resonate with it. But from my standings is um, there has been a lot that has been deleted from Reiki. So or Reiki. So it's not actually authentic anymore. So, in order to be authentic, you have to be authentic with yourself, right? I want to show you a little exercise here. I'm going to put down my crystal. So, grab your hands, put them together. Okay, now rub them vigorously, just for a few moments. Okay, now hold them apart, just slightly apart. Yep. Did you feel anything?
yeah, there's like a pulsing.
Yes. So that could be like your little white crystal ball, right? That's your energy. And when you play with that energy, you can twist it around, keeping that, and then take that energy and you can start spreading it out. And as you start spreading that out, you should be feeling the energy even stronger within your hands. If not, put your hands back together, start rubbing them together, and you'll feel that energy again. And you can do this all the way out as far as you can reach, with your arms right behind your back, and you will still feel your energy, because that's what we are, is energy, right? So our energy goes at least a kilometer above our heads and a kilometer below our feet, which is actually our root chakra. So, but that we'll have to get into another time.
Yes,
um,
we
but
will.
but you can play with your energy. Start by playing with this energy, warming up your hands. And if you want to, put it on your face or on your head, and just feel that energy. You know, if you're feeling like heart palpitations, you know, rub your hands together, get that energy going, and put it to your heart, and tell your body how much you love you.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to the talk. And Kyla just said in the chat, she's like, 100%. I have opinions on Reiki too. It has helped me, but I have expanded from it. Like, when she helps move my gas, because that's why she learned about it in the first place, is I have a lot of gastric issues from being sick. She doesn't really go by the book. It's more intuitive. It's from herself, and she's doing it from a place of love, and she's trying to give me relief. And I believe that's largely in part as to why it works, is because she's coming from that authentic high point of vibration, and she's projecting the energy to where it needs to go, is my take on it
Best
anyway.
That's the best medicine anybody could ever have.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh, we're actually coming up on 2 hours already. This is, we knew this was going to happen. So I'm absolutely going to have you back for a part 2. But I did grab a 6-minute clip of the Kurgan water system, because I actually got to sample this water, and Lonnie was teasing me about shilling for Big Book, because Lonnie's one of my coworkers and we like to bug each other, and like he was ripping on me for shilling for Big Book, even though you're an independent author. He's just teasing. But now I am going to actually push a product, and the Kurgan water system, I had a chance to try this water literally side by side with a bottle of water. And I was telling Joy Child before the show, I was just like, oh, when I compared the two, because the bottled water tasted like shit. And this tasted clean and like actual water. And I did grab this video off of the internet. Joy had pointed me in the direction of the website, and I found a 6-minute video, and it's from Pat Boone, who's a major proprietor of, or was a major proprietor of this system itself. And he explains it, but when Joy Child comes back on the show next time, we're really going to get into it. But I want to share that video with you guys now. So just, and bear with me. Oh, there.
Hello friends, Pat Boone here. Over the years, I've been very fortunate to be able to travel all over the world. I've been to beautiful places. I've seen lots of amazing things. But when I was at home recently, an old friend called and said he wanted to show me a very interesting product that he thought I'd really like. Well, I told him to come on over. First, let me tell you, I get approached with products all the time. So I'm always skeptical, as many of the products are just not what they're cracked up to be. I've been very conservative over the years. Yep, that's right, conservative. But when I do find something I like, something I think can help millions of others, I speak up and help spread the word. And that's exactly what happened here. Now, I'm in pretty good shape. I work out daily. I watch what I eat. For years, I've been buying bottled water like so many. I carry it with me in the car, to the gym, to the office. So when he told me that the bottled water I was buying was actually very acidic and not as good for me as I thought, I was curious. I wanted to learn more. He told me about a machine from Japan that he had at his house and how it could change my tap water into really healthy, great tasting water filled with powerful antioxidants, and that a lot of people were feeling a lot better just by drinking different water. He said the machine actually changes the molecular structure of the water. Well, now I was starting to think he was full of it. I mean, water is just water, right? Well, it turns out that all water is not the same. We're finding that out more and more. This technology is used at hospitals, restaurants, and homes throughout Japan. In fact, this machine is classified a medical device in Japan, and it's manufactured in a certified factory. Now, I've traveled to Japan many times over the years, and I've always been very impressed with their culture, their family values, their ingenuity, and their health. Japan ranks right up there as one of the healthiest populations in the world, and they tend to live longer than we do. Here in the U.S., the adult population, and even more concerning to me, our children, are facing record amounts of obesity and related problems. The human body is made up of about 70% water, and doctors agree most of us just don't drink enough water. For a lot of people, the daily diet consists of fast food, processed food, and soft drinks. About the only time they drink water is to swallow their medication. So what's different in Japan? Well, many experts think diet and water play an important role. When I heard that this machine was from Japan, the company was over 30 years old, and the founder was an incredibly healthy, energetic visionary in his 60s, well, of course, I wanted to learn more. They shared stories about people with gout, people with diabetes, people suffering with acid reflux, and people who were losing weight by just drinking the water. Then I started thinking there are different grades of gas, different qualities of wine, so it was starting to make sense there could be different qualities of water as well, right? The bottled water industry has invested billions of dollars trying to convince us that their water is better than tap. The filter companies tell us that their filters can improve the taste of your tap water. The environmentalists tell us that the plastic water bottles are clogging our landfills. And other studies warn us that the plastic used in some of those bottles may be linked to cancer. It's confusing. So what do? Well, you try to keep an open mind. Like me, my friend stepped up and he put his money where my mouth was. He wanted me to try the water. He said, just try the water, see for myself. What did I have to lose? It wasn't pills or potions or sugary drinks. It was just water. What if it could provide some relief and better health to lots of people just by changing the water they were drinking? Was that possible? Well, Stan also gave me this book to read. It was written by Dr. Hiromi Shinya, the world-renowned gastroenterologist. In case you don't know, a gastroenterologist is a doctor who specializes in the digestive system. Dr. Shinya has impeccable credentials. Each year, he spends 6 months in Japan and then 6 months in New York. For 45 years, he's treated kings, queens, presidents, celebrities, and thousands of other patients. He's chief of the surgical unit at Beth Israel Medical Center in New York City, and he's a clinical professor of surgery at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. He helped invent the colonoscopy, and he developed a technique for removing polyps during a colonoscopy without the need for abdominal surgery. It's actually called the Shinya method. Dr. Shinya has examined the stomachs and intestines of over 300,000 patients. He urges each of his patients to drink this special Kangen water every day just like he does. And you can read all about it. I read this book cover to cover, and I learned so much. I was incredibly impressed with Dr. Shinya, and now I really wanted to try the water. So Stan hooked up a machine in my kitchen, and we've been drinking Kangen water ever since. Some people have asked, if the water is so special, why isn't it sold in stores? Well, there's a simple explanation. The special properties of the water only last about 3 days. After a couple of days, the oxidation reduction potential of the water has diminished. So, to get the full benefit of this water, you really need to drink it fresh from the machine.
So that video belonged to the proprietor of the video. I just want to be clear. I do not own that video. I have no rights to that video. That is just the basic information on this water system. And the reason I bring it up, because I'm actually experiencing a lot of intestinal issues myself, as we were just talking about in the chat. And like I said, the difference in the taste of the water is night and day. It really is. And I would suggest people get it. And I can't wait until you come back in January, because we're going to get into this whole water subject itself in a very big way, and a bunch of other stuff. And we're coming up on 2 hours. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I do want to ask, where did you first hear about the water system, though?
Yeah, actually, I was in a health food store and I was talking to one of the girls there, and she was saying, "Oh, I wanted a copy of your book, and I didn't know how to get a hold of you." And I said, "Well, I just happen to have one in my purse, ta-da!" And so I signed it for her, and she had a customer, and this customer says, "Oh, well, check out my website." And she went out the door, and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And she didn't give me much information about it. And she turned around and came back in. And she goes, "And I want a copy of your book." So I sold a copy of my book and got both her websites. I don't have a website yet. Uh, I don't know. I just something just saying, nah, not yet. YouTube's more my speed. Anyways, I checked out her website, and it was about the Kangen water system. And my partner Ben and I watched it together, and we thought, well, you know what? We've gone through so many, like Brita's, the 01 or whatever it's called. We've gone through this Antiva, and none of them have been cost effective. So we thought, well, okay, this has got a bigger price tag on it, but we got it in, I think it was March this year, and it's just coming up for its like 6 month cleaning, and I've got everything here to do that, to clean and to make sure that everything is fresh and renewed. So, and that came with the equipment. So it's got a little filter system of its own. The little packets you will eventually have to buy, but yeah, you're not spending $50 every 3 or 4 months to go out and buy filters or rocks or anything like that. It's all self-contained. You do have to get electrolysis for it, which the company provides. So I'm a distributor for them, and that is the only way that you can get into this. I mean, you probably could go straight to the company, but what we're doing right now is we're looking for people to come and join our team. So with the lady that introduced me to it, she is my team mentor, I guess you could say. And she has a mentor, and we're all working together to help one another out and to, get uh Enagic, the company that runs it, is actually wants it in every home and every business around the world. It's that fabulous. And I dropped 15 pounds in the first couple of months, not because that's all I did, but what it did was it was hydrating my body properly so that I didn't need the excess weight.
I love it, and I'm actually, once we get things figured out, I am going to get one for the house because I would love to see what effect it has on whatever the ailment is that's going through my stomach. Um, and you mentioned your YouTube channel. I want to tell everybody that that is going to be coming out. I'm going to go actually help Joy Child with some of my sound equipment, and she's going to be doing some of her sound healings and frequency treatments and all of that great stuff and meditations and some drum work and whatever else she feels like putting on her channel. But I'm going to be helping her get that up in the next about month or so. So I will help push that out, and hopefully by the time that she's back in January, we'll have that up and going so we can share that with you. But if there's anywhere else people can get a hold of you or find your book or the water system, if they just want to go off of the little bit that they saw here, where do they find all of this wonderful information?
Okay, well, with my book, you can go to amazon.ca and purchase it there. And when you read the book, if you want to do a review, that would be greatly appreciated, because then that just helps to spark more interest from other people. Myself personally, with the Kangen water system, you can reach me at joychild369@gmail.com. And then, ask me any questions that you want, and then we can go from there, and possibly send me with your email, send your phone number, and I will contact you. And that would be fabulous.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Jason just put your link up. And I'm also going to grab the link for the Kurgan water system as well. And is that just a .com, or where do people find that?
Well, I just checked out Pat Boone with the Kangen water system. So it's Kangen.
Okay.
Kangen water system, and there's quite a few different little videos there, but his buddy does a complete demonstration of the Kangen water system with the different pH levels of it. And we can get more into that later on, but there's quite a lot to learn, and I took my time with learning as much as I possibly could. And one of the things that I learned from this entire process was that plastic industry is an $800 billion industry. And plastics are made out of diesel fuel. So when you're drinking your bottled water, what do you think you're drinking?
Yeah,
it's
you're
not
basically
just plastic.
Yeah, it's diesel.
Yeah. And also too, I have brochures here. So when you come out to my place and we're doing our work together, I'll give you a bunch of brochures. Oh, I can't talk now. I can give them my brochures, and if people are interested in, this is part of the community.
Yeah.
This is how we want, everybody to be, is everybody is helping one another. And that's how life is supposed to be. And that's what we're coming to.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I want to thank everybody that was here tonight and participating in the chat. I think at one point we had like 12 people watching live, so that was kind of awesome. I know there was some nonsense in the chat, and I apologize for that. I don't know why that needed to go on, and it'll be dealt with. But aside from that, I want to say thank you all for watching. And like I say every week, if you can, please go outside, because it's a lot better than sitting in front of this screen. And I love you guys.
Live long and prosper.
Ready or not, ready or not, here I come, get high, gonna find you, and then yo, I think I need like a game of chess where I rest, no stress.